You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center. Welcome to Cape Media News. This is Candid Candidates, and today we are joined by Tom Nicanello, candidate for Select Board in the town of Yarmouth. Tom, thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Mitch. This is great what you guys do. We've had a communication issue for many years now after the registers left our territory, and as you see, a lot of municipalities hiring communication people. So what you and your team does here is absolutely phenomenal. And, there's nothing like getting anything done unless you communicate, right?
Right.
So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do here is just get to know the candidates, not so much policies, but
Sure.
just like who you are,
Yep.
what you stand for. So just to start off, where are you from? How did you get to sitting here today?
Right. Well, thanks again. That's a long story. I'll try to chop it up in a few minutes. I have been in Yarmouth just about all my life. My family had started a business back in the late 50s. We opened up in 1961, right on 28. It's an entertainment facility. And next door was a little motel. We had 36 rooms. My mom and dad ran that, and my uncle ran the other part. So I've been involved with the Cape for a long time. And as I was growing up, getting my education in Natick, that's where we were born, and so we would always come back in the summertime. And in those days, Mitch, back in the 70s, when you left here in the fall, everybody boarded up everything. It was like not even the seagull showed up. It was absolutely amazing. But it's all changed. As you know, we have a lot of people here now. We have less resources and very poor infrastructure. Those are one of my main things I'm working on. But, I had a great upbringing. My family are very hardworking entrepreneurs. They had multiple corporations as I was growing up, so I get a good mix of a feel of what was happening. I had my first crew of 25 when I was 15, so I was able to master people's personalities and help them along with life. After I made my education, I got married very young at 21, had two beautiful kids. I have a lovely wife for 40 years now. And after the education process, we moved down to the Cape full time, 2008. But we always came down I don't think I ever spent the summer in Natick, so it was always on Cape Cod because that's where you wanted to be, right? Mm-hmm. So then we opened up a little restaurant. One of the tenants on our property was getting rid of the restaurant, and my daughter and my son wanted to give it a shot, so we opened up the Route 28 Diner. It used to be Joe's Diner before that, and we were there for about 4,011 days, which is about 11 years. I made it through the pandemic. And then just after that, Mitch, nobody wanted to work. And I said to my kids, for 200 hours of employment, we can't really enjoy where we live. And it's difficult, right? Business is great, but if you don't have a little personal life and try to enjoy some of it, then you really got to look at what's going on, right? So we were able to, move that along, sell the business, and everyone's got their own. I've been a general contractor for 37 years now, so I go out in the neighborhoods. People call me for jobs, whether it's redo a whole house or part of it, or landscape design or whatever. So I've had one-on-one interactions with a lot of our residents for many years, and Yarmouth is a great community. It's just, we have too many residents and not enough businesses, right? If you look at the Commonwealth, 351 communities within our Commonwealth, the average tax rate structure is 20% commercial and 80% residential. That's a healthy mix, right? You don't want too much residential because you need the money for all the services, right? So in our community, we're way below that. When I was younger and my hairline was full, at the Cape Cod Coliseum was here, right? And we had about 17% commercial tax rate. We had a very good commercial base, so our town could do things, because if you don't have any money, what can you do, right? So now we're at 4%, and our residents are carrying 94%. So we've gone in the wrong direction, and yet, as you know, with the cost of everything, and everything needs to be done, we need some money, right? We just can't keep on going to the residents and ask for more money. We have sewer coming in Yarmouth, as everybody knows, which is fantastic. It's 40 years too late. However, we're getting it, and we might be able to save our environment because we have a chemical imbalance, right? So we need to smooth that out. So if we can up the commercial a little bit with the sewer and get our residents to pay less, I think that's a healthy community. I've been here, like I said, all my life. I love Yarmouth, and I was just trying to spend the rest of my few days that I have helping to improve it for our residents and our business people. So I hope that helped.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize the commercial to residential rate was so low in Yarmouth.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
We were looking at a story last year. I think there was somebody was trying to start like a go-kart business.
Correct.
On 28.
I remember.
And it just hit so many that they finally gave up on it. I do believe.
Yeah.
And it just seems like. Do you think that might be an issue of like residents not realizing how little commercial is in Yarmouth?
Well, as you know, everything is about education, right? So you have to educate people. And what I find is when I usually tell the story is people don't, they don't know that, right? Some businesses are typically funny. I mean, if it was a little grocery store, convenience store, but, we have loud go-karts with gas engines, right? And so it does perk up a little bit of interest for the surrounding neighbors, right? So, but on the other note, if it was something different, then it'd be okay. And I know that she did open up behind the mall.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, so
okay.
She did have a summer worth of activity, so she was able to employ people, pay the taxes, and help Hyannis, which Hyannis has a 44% commercial tax rate.
Wow.
So they're very good. They're a very healthy economy, but we just we need to move our numbers up.
So shifting gears a little bit, I know you ran for the select board back in May. What was your deciding factor to get into the race and throw your name into the ring?
Right. So thanks for the question. For many years now, my family has been active in the Chamber of Commerce, right? Since 1962, most of the towns got their own Chamber of Commerce. Since 1922, we had the Cape Cod Chamber, and then for whatever reason, everybody split up back in the 60s, and they took it on themselves. So our chamber does a great job. We had a great executive director for many years, and as I was maturing and the older generation was maturing out, right? So it was my turn to move in probably about 13 years ago to take over from my relative that was doing the chamber work. So it's important to me to make sure that a healthy economy has a balance of both, like we're talking about before. So one of the reasons people kept on asking me, because I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce, we do a lot of interactive things with our business people, our business community, and our residents, right? We're probably one of the only chambers that take on residents. You don't have to have a business to be part of our organization, right? You can be an individual, because it takes an individual to open a business, right? And sometimes an individual can be in Yarmouth for 10 years and then decide, I want to be in a business, right? So if you invite them in early, it only helps. It builds community, right? So I was asked a few times as the select board was getting, candidates, Tom, why don't you run? And so I just said, well, I'll throw myself out there, and, my experiences over the years, working for different companies, and then working for myself, and then working for my kids, like I said, working for the diner. I have a good breadth of what our community is looking for and how to make it, somewhat fair for each party, right? You got the residents and you got the business people. So we all work together very well. It's just that we need more. So they all encouraged me to go, and being involved with the town for probably a decade. I was sitting on the Board of Appeals for many years. I did a little stint there, And I was also on the personnel board, which reviews the criteria for each individual for the municipality, which we have like over 300,
Oh, wow.
right? So it was very it was very easy for me to go to the next level. Where running your own business, you do all that anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're part of all that. When you have your own business, you're the bookkeeper, you're the payables, you're all that stuff, right? I
Right.
mean, we don't have a lot of money just to hire all these people because you're trying to make it work,
Right.
And then you have to worry about your government coming in and taking what they want to take, right? Which is fine. I mean, I love my government. It's one of the best. It's just sometimes the managers that manage it have need to whatever. But so that's how I get into it. Thank you.
What are some of the differences you see in running a campaign in like the normal election cycle and now doing like a special election? What's the big differences between the two?
Well, I think it's the recognition from the community. I think they all expect, because they know when it's going to come up, right? So when you have something like this situation where Mike Stone did a great job for many years and then the good Lord decided to take him, now it throws it off kilter because they're not keeping up with it. And also in the springtime, I think you have more positive, more energy, right? People coming out of the winter, they want to be excited, and then this time of year, what are we doing? We're all exhausted from the we just probably processed 5 million people in our region over the summer, and that really takes a toll on everybody in the service business, right? How many restaurants did we see not open 7 days a week this year, right? And everybody else that's affected, right? So you come this time of year and everyone's trying to recoup or make plans to go away or whatever. So I think it's a little bit of that, and then you get your core group. There's a core group of people in each community that no matter what happens, they're there.
Right.
And we can't do anything. Those people are wonderful, right? We can't run the town without them, right? So it's pretty much the same, but it's a little bit different. More candidates in the springtime, and then this election is only 2, right? So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But as far as me, I'm a workaholic. I get up 4:30 every day, and I go till 10, 11 o'clock. And to me, I like to get things accomplished. It makes me feel good when someone calls me up and says, "Hey, thanks, Tom, for getting that done," and whatever. I mean, to me, that's what life's all about: helping people. And I like it when I get help, but I like it when I give help. So,
Tom, anything that we haven't covered today that you think would be important for the residents to know about you before we wrap things up today?
Well, I think I can say, number one, thank you and your crew for doing this. Like I said, it's very important that we communicate, and hopefully many people get to see this. But I just want to help out my town. It's a great community. We have great people. We have a scholarship fund on our property tax bill, right? And people get to donate extra from the property tax. And we have like over 500 people, consecutively always giving extra for the scholarship fund. So it shows that our people are very generous and they want the next generation to succeed and get educated. I think we've raised almost like I don't know, is it $600,000 to scholarship kids over the last number of years? So these people are just fantastic, and I hope they get out and vote on December 7th, which is Saturday, Pearl Harbor Day, from 7 to 8. And I'm asking for your vote. I want to make sure that our future is solid on the resident side and on the commercial side, and also bringing people from around the world to our community and showing them that we're a great place. We may be last on the list alphabetically in Massachusetts, but we're number 1 when it comes to fun-filled, action-packed adventure. That's what I got to say. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. And
my pleasure.
Everybody get out and vote on December 7th. Hey, welcome to Cape Media News. This is Candid Candidates, and today I am joined by Liz Argo, candidate for Select Board in the town of Yarmouth. Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, nice to be here.
We're talking with all the candidates about just who you are, where you're from, a little bit about you, the background for people that may not know who you are. So what can you tell us about Liz?
Well, first off, I was born in Orleans, And my parents came in 1950 to start a summer theater. So they started the Orleans Arena Theater in 1950. That lasted for 26 years, and it's now the Academy of Performing Arts. But back in its heyday, it was America's first summer stock theater in the round. And I'll just fast forward. I am a videographer as well. So I made a movie about that, and that's on PBS, and you can also find it on YouTube. It's called Stage Struck, Confessions from Summer Stock Theater. So I was raised in the theater, but I realized early in my teenage years that wasn't going to be lucrative, and I decided to go into the film business. Okay. I moved to New York, and I had a great career in the film business for something like 20 years. I came back to Cape Cod when my marriage fell apart with 2 children, my daughter Lacey and my son John. I started a video production company, and I was very happy to have done work for the Cape Cod 5-Cent Savings Bank, the VNA, the Visiting Nurse Association, the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, Cape Cod Community College. So my roster of clients was terrific, and it was a great career. And one of the jobs that I had was to go to Denmark to look at the offshore wind farms. That was when the offshore wind farm, Cape Wind, was being proposed for Nantucket Sound. So I went to Denmark with my equipment and interviewed people and witnessed their offshore wind farm, which would have been very similar to the Nantucket Sound wind farm. I came back and made those movies. But while I was doing all of that, I got very intrigued with renewable energy. So I decided in about 2006 that I had had enough of shuffling equipment and making movies, and as we used to call it, running and gunning with a camera on your shoulder. So I made a very broad jump into renewable energy. I applied for a job with a company in Rhode Island called Solar Rights. They picked me up. I became their South Coast and Cape Cod representative. At that time, I sold 250 kilowatts of solar energy and a 100 kilowatt turbine that still operates at Nantucket High School. Oh, so wow. That was my start in renewable energy. And at the time, the Cape Light Compact was in the process of starting a spin-off organization called the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And Maggie Downey, who is still in charge of the Cape Light Compact, asked me to be a consultant and look at all the capped landfills that are across the Cape and Martha's Vineyard that were fallow. They were mature enough to do something with, but not to build on particularly. So she had thought, brilliant lady that she is, that solar would be a terrific solution for utilizing those capped landfills. So I did a comprehensive report on how much land there was on the capped landfills and how much solar it could support and so on. And that was my beginning with the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And you may know now that if you pass any of the capped landfills on Cape Cod or Martha's Vineyard, we were successful in putting on solar. And that brought 332 megawatts of solar energy to the Cape and Martha's Vineyard, which is nothing to be sniffed at. We did a great job, and it has saved the towns an awful lot of money in that their electricity bills were reduced, and now their capped landfills are production centers rather than sitting there and being a good home for the seagulls.
And so the shift from the film world to renewable energy, what was the shift from renewable energy now to be interested in politics and in running for local office?
In my work with the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, I was very interactive with the towns because those were my clients, essentially. I was going to the towns and the town administrators and the select boards and saying, you have a capped landfill, let us, the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, put out a request for proposals to the field of solar installer companies and find the right solar installation company for the project and manage that for you. And the towns were more than happy to have the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative do that for them. We had a great team of lawyers at CVEC, And between my management and the lawyers, we made the towns very comfortable with getting these projects done. And it was early in the field, so it was not something that towns would have been good at. There was a lot to learn. By having a central agency run it for the towns, that was very shrewd, very, very smart, because that way you didn't have to have a whole staff person dedicated to doing it. But so being the executive director of the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, I would make presentations to all the select boards once a year. I was in and out of town administrators' offices with the contracts, helping the town administrators understand the contracts, working with the town's lawyers on the contracts and so on. And then when construction started, I was still very much the person that the towns would call when there was a problem, when there was a question about the taxes on the land, and so on. So I became very known to the towns, and I became very knowledgeable about town process and town politics and the personalities as well. But I wanted to get back into town politics because I feel Yarmouth is at a tremendous opportunity crossroads right now. The town of Yarmouth is special because it's home to a greater population than most of the Cape towns. And it still has the growth in the off season as well, or as the on season, I guess I should say, the tourist season. And we have an issue with Route 28. It's very unattractive, and a lot of it is some of the businesses are deserted now. So Yarmouth has taken the reins and passed the sewering financing, which was my inspiration for running. When I sat at that town meeting and witnessed the unanimous will of the people to go forward with protecting the Cape by putting in sewers, and the same town meeting, they passed a ban on to-go foods in plastics. That for me was the passion and the will of the people was my inspiration. And I, as I say, knowing that Route 28 is positioned now for big changes between the sewering, and it's also federally zoned as what's called an opportunity zone, meaning it's eligible for tax credits to developers. So I want to see us do it right. I'm very pleased to say I think we have a top drawer town planner in Kathy Williams and our community development, Karen Green. So I have met with them, and Mary Wagans is also a terrific resource in Yarmouth. She's running the housing development program, and I went over that very carefully, and I think we do, as all of Cape Cod, have a housing problem along with our water issues, and I think Route 28 can be a solution.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you see yourself fitting into the existing lineup of the select board?
How would I fit in with the current Yarmouth Select Board? I think very well, because I'm proud to say that when I have an issue that maybe is not something that the consensus agrees with, I believe in bridges, not barriers. So working with the Select Board members, or on any committee. I also sit on the Old Kings Highway Historic Committee in Yarmouth, and I used to sit on the Library Planning Committee in Yarmouth. And I'm proud to say that my success on those committees is due to not digging in heels and entrenching and becoming emotional about issues. Now, that said, I'm not going to give in to things I don't believe in, and that's the beauty of the fact that we have a vote. So I will always vote my heart and my conscience. But I think the select board will be very well rounded with the members that are currently on it. Mark Forrest and Tracy have been the leaders on the select board for a long time. I look forward to working with them. And Dorcas is an incredible researcher. with great talent in digging through and knowing what's going on in the town and what's important to the town. For instance, when we will have an issue coming up at the December 9th Select Board Special Town Meeting, and Dorcas was very, very strong about a retraction or not a retraction, an extending of the timeline for a decision that was made by the town at a Springtown meeting on the plastics, the to-go containers. Mm-hmm. And she almost voted not to change give the opportunity for the townspeople to change the timeline on that, because she felt so strongly that the town has spoken. Mm-hmm. In the end, she reluctantly realized that we do need a little bit more time to find out how to enforce that ban. So there are strong personalities, but they are all working together. And I think that's key. And I look forward to being involved with a board with such strong personalities and emotions that are kept in check, in rein. So I think it could be an incredibly dynamic select board. And I've had the pleasure of reaching out to some of the earlier select board members, and they're enthusiastic that I join, because they agree that the makeup of the select board, if I get voted in, would be very dynamic.
Right. And then just to kind of wrap things up, is there anything that you think that residents need to know about you that we haven't talked about today?
One thing that I want to make a note of, I have been labeled a liberal, and in some ways I think that's a mischaracterization, because my platform and my signs say sustainability, but I don't believe that that's points to my being a liberal. I think I am an environmentalist, and that is a sustainability piece of sustainability. But sustainability also means that we have to have business and commercial enterprise in the town, and we need to have a balanced population. We need to have young people as well as old people in Yarmouth. And we need to make sure that that happens. So my platform of sustainability goes out across having good schools, having clean water, having good businesses and opportunities. So I was sort of taken aback when somebody in the town labeled me as a liberal. I would say that that's a mischaracterization.
All right. Well, Liz, thank you so much for sitting down with us today, and good luck in the election next weekend. And everybody, get out and vote on December 7th.
Yes, I think that's a big one. Please get out and vote, because it's your town.